What's going on, everybody? Here are a few things that I look for when I'm actually trying to find a good predator fly rod. So a couple things when you're searching for a predator fly rod. Remember that when you're buying a fly rod specific for things like bass, pike, muskie, or even in the salt, you're looking for a couple of things very specific when in comparison to like trout rods. Remember that you are choosing a rod based on the fly that you're going to cast primarily. And what I mean by that is quite often we like to try and pick like, oh, I'm going to be fishing for muskie. They're big fish. I should get a big fly rod. Well, in reality, you would fish a 10 or 12 weight rod for muskie more so because you're tossing foot-long flies, not so much that you're fighting a big fish. This rings true for most freshwater species. Bass, you can catch a bass on a 4-weight, trust me. 3-weight, trust me. But what you normally find is when you're tossing big deer hair poppers, we like an 8-weight or a 6-weight or a 7-weight, 9-weight, hypothetically, because it allows us to toss those bugs a little easier. Now, that kind of goes out the window when it comes to saltwater. Saltwater, there's a golden rule for size of fish, type of fish compared to flies, because your flies are a little smaller, but you are fighting bigger fish, very aggressive fish. So that kind of goes out the window. But when we're talking about freshwater fish, this rod, for example, this is a Snow BRP SP RMX because that is predator specific, and I like this rod for a multitude of factors. Typically, I like a fighting butt on anything higher than a 6-weight. So this is an 8-weight. It has a fighting butt, and it has reel seat, up locking, double locking, which is nice. But more so than that, I like a rod that has a fairly stiff backbone and a really fast retention. When I cast that fly, I don't need a super soft rod. I do have softer rods for more delicate presentations. But when I'm fishing streamers, for example, in the wind or heavy weighted sinking or intermediate lines, I want to punch the rod. So the flexibility in a stiffer butt section is nice. More so, when we get into the actual body of the rod itself, a couple of components that I like to look for. When I'm looking for these rods, I like to see tip tops, and I like to see snake eyes or guides that are much bigger in diameter than your typical trout rod, for example, because I like the ability to shoot line, as well as the fact that I may be using connected pieces or connective like leaders or sink tips, and they just go through those guides a lot better. That being said, a fast tip is nice in the wind, not a necessity. Good casting technique can overcome most rod deficiencies or inefficiencies in most situations, but it's just nice to have. Additionally, when I'm fishing a reel specific for predators, whether it be this Ross or whether it be my Snowy Spectre or a Qualifly Maverick even, I like a good pickup, but most of these predators I'm going to be stripping in line, so the actual arbor size isn't all that crucial unless, of course, again, you're looking at salt or you're looking at steelhead, for example. I like to have a quick pickup on most of those, and a quick pickup on most rods is going to be, or on most reels is going to be beneficial, especially when you're fishing for fish that you plan on putting on the rod. For most of these, freshwater predator species like bass, pike, or muskie, I typically don't put them on the rod or on the reel anyway. I'm stripping them in because I'm using much thicker diameter tippet and leader. If I were on a finer tippet or leader, I would probably end up putting them on the reel, like for steelhead, for example. Comparatively, I use thinner diameter for steelhead than I do for example, muskie if I'm trying to turn over massive flies. If I'm nymphing, obviously I want to go smaller. Bass bugs, I'm going a little thicker. So you're not going to break off your fish as easily on that diameter tippet for these predators, fish comparatively, or compared to, for example, these other fish. So there you have it. I like a stout butt section, a lighter action tip or a fast tip sometimes, depending on the situation. I like to have a fighting butt, but I also really like something that I can easily shoot line through. So the guides should be a little bit bigger, at least for my personal preference. But also something affordable, because if you're fishing out of a boat, if you're fishing on shore, it's a good idea to have something that you don't mind bashing around, even if you have a lifetime warranty, because you'd rather be fishing than waiting, right, for repairs. One final note, I really do enjoy fishing stripping baskets, but I really like this Flexi Strip from Eric's. I think they're from Denmark or Scandinavia. I can't remember, but I think it's Denmark. These guys make this cool. It's like a stripping basket without an outer rim. It packs down nicely and it's super light, not cumbersome. And I've been finding it really nice to fish with, and so I would recommend that. All the links below to these different products. Make sure that if you like this video, if you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Let me know below what you like to fish these different, what gear you use to fish for your predator species. And please subscribe to the channel. Check out the other videos in the playlist. And until the next time, guys, catch you guys on the flip side. Tight lines.